Hello everyone, today's video will be all about the Emperor's Angels of Death. That's right, this video will be about the Space Marines. I'm going to explain what a Space Marine is, and then go through their history and then about their training and recruitment, and a lot more later in this video. Though the video won't talk about the rankings like Lieutenant or Captain, this is more about the Space Marines themselves than any of their hierarchies. Coming from the Thunder Warriors, who were the prototype of sorts before the Space Marines. You can see more about them in this video I made. The first Space Marines were created from the genetic materials of the Primarchs after they were scattered across the galaxy away from the Emperor by the Chaos Gods in the aftermath of the Unification Wars. 20 legions of sparkly made Space Marines were created, a legion for each Primarch. Though 2 were taken apart and the Primarchs for those 2 would be known as the Lost Primarchs. Then 9 legions and their Primarchs would fall to chaos, but I'm getting off topic. During the Great Crusade, the legions took part in finding the Lost Primarchs who were being rediscovered and then given command of their respective legion. This crusade lasted for 2 centuries until Horus did his tantrum and did his heresy. But I'm not talking about that for this video, that topic will be saved for a later video. The biology of the Space Marines is different to a normal human. This is best seen with their secondary heart and the additional lung. The second heart is implanted to help in case the primary heart is damaged or worse, destroyed. It can help the Marine in low oxygen environments, and when the Marine is in combat, then the second heart pumps more adrenaline and blood flow. For the additional lung, it can be activated by the Space Marine when they are in the previous said low oxygen atmosphere. It also helps them in poisoned atmospheres too. For when it's poisonous, the original lung can be closed off to allow the implanted organ to take over breathing, as it has a highly effective toxic dispersal system. The lung also allows the Marine to breathe water on top of that. Lastly, the Space Marines are able to hyperoxygenate their blood by employing the third lung through panting. This could be in situations like not passing out while in a drop pod onto a planet. The Space Marine has a better digestive system, allowing them to eat practically anything edible. On top of that, they have a greater tolerance to poisons. This does mean that normal alcohol can't get a Space Marine drunk, though the Space Wolves did create Fenrian's Ale, and it could get a Space Marine completely blackout drunk with enough mugs of it. A small detail is a Space Marine can spit acid. With all these abilities that they have been implanted with, there's still a bit left on what these Angels of Death can do. They have the ability to learn the memories of an organic life form by ingesting their brain matter. These are nerve bundles that connect the spine and the stomach wall, and through the eating of the brain matter, the implant will transmit this to the Marine in the form of a set of memories or experiences. An example of this dialed up to 10 is the Blood Angels, as when they fall to their thirst, they start seeing Horus Lupercal killing their Primarch. They can also enter the state of suspended animation to survive while being grievously wounded, or if they are isolated for many years. There are even more organs a Space Marine will have implanted in their body, but alas, I move on. On to how they are seen in society. These super enhanced warriors are seen in the light of being a myth and legends. The common person might get taught the names of the greatest heroes and their deeds as they are retold across the entirety of the Imperium. For the common citizen, they are viewed as gods among men. Alongside this, the Ministratum veterates them as the Big E's descendants, and in the Death Watch core rulebook, it is mentioned that for a normal human to touch a Space Marine's weapon is religiously taboo. For you or me, if we were citizens, as the number of citizens outnumber the number of Space Marines is a massive, so you could go your whole life without seeing one. From what people see the Space Marine, I now move on to their own behaviour. Most Space Marines are narrow-minded except for a handful of them. This comes from the world they live in of martial prowess, where their loyalty to their chapter and the bravery they display on the battlefield is revered above everything else. Some might find common ground with the Astartes as those who excel in the art of war. The manner in which a Space Marine interacts with the common folk within the Imperium varies from chapter to chapter. Most Marines are more aloof and more focused on the mission or objectives they have set for themselves that a normal person could never think of, only seeing their other Space Marines as equals to themselves. Only those or heroes of myth might consider friends to be a Space Marine. Though, for an ordinary human, it is a lot harder to befriend one of these hulking monsters of death. On a rare occasions, a space marine may give aid or support in situations outside of active combat. These can be pieces of knowledge to aid in training or other specialist knowledge. Some space marines might even fight alongside those normal humans. Some chapters that come to mind are the Ultramarines, the Salamanders, and the successor chapter from the Imperial Fist, the Crimson Fist. In the book Howl's Reach, there's a squadron of Thunderbolts with a Black Templar cross on it. This shows that they've earned the right to fly with the cross. With the process to become transhuman warriors, their brains become no longer suited for the nuisance of human communication. This is best seen when you read about space marines who see children, as they don't know or don't care to comfort them. However, some space marines prove to be exceptions to this rule. Some never truly forget their normal human half, such as the previously mentioned chapters and the Space Wolves. Now you know how space marines act in society and their behaviour. The recruits are chosen from the best warriors among humanity. Naturally, this makes feral worlds a prized recruitment area, as these planets that are harsh and primal make the best warriors. However, hive worlds are normally the best places to acquire new recruits, as the populace of the lower levels are composed of murderous scum, and whole gangs are hunted down and captured for recruitment. The desired traits that are looked for are aggression and psychotic level killing instinct. After being recruited, you go through testing, and these include tissue compatibility tests and psychological screening. Only a small percent get past the initial selections. Those that pass get called neophytes, and the process continues with surgery, indoctrination, conditioning, and training that takes them through to becoming a space marine. The surgeries take a great deal of time, as the recruits receive implants along with chemical and hypnotherapy as training necessary for allowing the functioning and development of the implant organs. These implants transform the bodies and minds and give the inhuman abilities that you see in space marines. The intense indoctrination and conditioning strengthens the recruits' resolve and increases mental compatibilities, honing them into dedicated and merciless warriors. After more general training, they join the chapter as full brothers. Now, for the equipment that these hulking angels of death use. Starting first with the armor for the Space Marines. They use a distinctive power armor. Some members who are from the first companies of a chapter might insist being cladded in the heavier Terminator armor, while on the other hand, scouts use the lighter Carapace armor instead. There's a fourth type of armor that is called the Artificer armor, and is worn by Space Marines who have served 3 centuries in the name of the Emperor and performed notably brave actions in battle. An example of someone wearing this armor is from the Blood Angels chapter, with their chapter master being Dante. Each Space Marine chapter will paint their armor with their respective color schemes. This could be blue for the Ultramarines or the red of the Blood Angels, and then we have the yellow of the Imperial Fist for a few examples. And unlike the guard who uses camouflage as a weapon, the Space Marines choose to stay with their bright colours, as the combat doctrines don't use concealment in battle. Though there are exceptions to this, with the chapters like the Raven Guard who hide in the shadows to strike at their enemies, or the successor chapter called the Raptors who uses camouflage and use hit and run tactics. Now, for the weapons. The Space Marine uses primarily the bolt gun, and for close shootouts they fall to their sidearm being the bolt pistol. For melee encounters, the trusty chainsword never hurts to have, though this loadout varies as captains might have power fists or power swords. Lastly is the newest version of the Space Marine, and this being the Primaris Space Marines that were made for Rebute Guilliman by Belisarius Cool. These new Marines are taller and faster than their firstborn brothers. Alongside this new breed were also new weapons and vehicles, but that's for a later video. The Archmagus was allowed access to the gene seeds of all 20 Primarchs and several unique STC technologies to achieve this, and so tens of thousands of Primaris Marines were created. Though if you want to hear more about the Primaris Space Marines, then hit the subscribe and like button and leave a comment. That was the shorter and more digestible information on the Space Marines.